I still remember that Christmas Eve as if it were etched in glass. The night everything in my life began to fracture in a way that could never be repaired. My name is Avery Lockridge, 27 years old, a junior architect scraping by on blueprints and deadlines in Phoenix. The job wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't generous either. Just enough to cover the rent on a cramped, mildew-smelling apartment on the edge of town, and every once in a while to treat myself to a proper meal. Christmas, though, was different. Christmas was the one time of year I counted the days to because it meant going home to family, the one time I could still pretend I truly belonged somewhere. Every year began with tradition. Ever since I was small, my parents had turned Christmas into an event. My father, Edwin Lockridge, 56, owned a successful chain of gyms downtown. He was the big, booming voice type. Always flexing, always ready with another success story. My mother, Marilyn, 52, was sales director for a high-end furniture company. She was perpetually polished, smelling of expensive perfume. Smile perfect and practiced. 4 years earlier, when both their careers took off, they bought a luxury villa. The house became the family trophy. 5 stories, private pool, meticulously landscaped gardens. And every Christmas it was decorated more extravagantly than any other house on the street. Strings of colored lights ran from the gate all the way to the roofline. An enormous wreath on the front door. A tree that touched the ceiling and glittered with thousands of ornaments. Neighbors gawked. I drove in every year just to see it and feel for a moment that I was still part of that glow. This year was supposed to be the same. I left my apartment early, stomach growling because I'd spent the whole day rushing to finish drawings for a small hotel project. In the car, I played the usual Christmas songs, Jingle Bells, Last Christmas, and smiled to myself. I pictured Mom scolding me for losing weight again, then pressing a plate of warm gingerbread cookies into my hands. Dad would clap me on the back hard enough to stagger me, ask about work, then launch into stories about his newest gym members. We'd sit by the fireplace with mugs of hot chocolate, and for the first time all year I wouldn't feel alone. The highway was strangely empty. Phoenix on Christmas Eve is usually busy, but tonight the air was unusually cold. Wind whistled through the cracked window. I slowed as I entered the wealthy neighborhood where the villa stood. From a distance I searched for the familiar blaze of light. Every other year, the moment I turned onto the street, the whole place lit up like a private aurora. Tonight, there was nothing. I eased off the gas, then stopped completely in front of the gate. Darkness swallowed the entire house. Not a single light on. No wreath, no twinkling strands, no glowing tree visible through the huge front windows. Just the massive silhouette looming silent in the night, like an abandoned shell. My pulse quickened. I told myself they were pranking me, planning some big surprise. I gave a short honk, got out of the car. Cold air knifed through my thin jacket. I walked to the front door and rang the bell. The chime sounded clear and cheerful, but no footsteps answered. I rang again, then again. Silence. I called my father. Rang through to voicemail. Same with my mother. I texted, "I'm here, where are you guys?" No read receipt. I stood on the porch, hands in pockets, pacing. Dry leaves crackled under my shoes. The cold stopped being skin deep, it sank into my bones. My mind spun worst-case scenarios. Maybe they'd gone last-minute shopping, maybe they'd taken a trip and forgotten to tell me. Each passing minute fed the fear a little more. I called again, rang the bell again, circled the house, peering through windows, only thick darkness inside. An hour dragged by. I finally sank onto the front steps, back against a column, staring at the empty street. Every neighboring house blazed with light. Faint Christmas music drifted over, children laughing, glasses clinking. And there I was, alone in the dark outside my own family home. I stood up to leave, but a stubborn thought nagged. What if they're surprising me somewhere else? On the drive back, I went slower than usual. The radio kept playing cheerful songs. I turned it off because the joy felt mocking. Then, almost without thinking, I turned left instead of right, toward the old neighborhood. The neighborhood where I'd grown up, where the little house at 47 Cactus Wren Drive still stood, The one my parents had left empty exactly 4 years earlier when they moved into the villa. They'd called it not worth keeping, too small, too old, locked it up and hired someone to clean it once in a while. 15 years of memories reduced to a padlocked box. The swing Dad built by hand, the porch step where Mom waited after school, the saguaro in the front yard I once climbed for fruit and fell out of. Yet tonight I turned in like muscle memory. Like the kid in me still believed that if you got lost, you just went back to the old house and Mom and Dad would be there. The narrow street was still full of potholes. The old houses glowed warmly, colored lights, wreaths, trees sparkling in windows. I smiled despite everything. Maybe this year they wanted to do something big. Maybe they decided to come back here for a simple, old-fashioned Christmas with the neighbors, relive childhood memories, surprise me retro style, pure Lockridge. Then I saw light. The old house, number 47, was lit from the living room window, a soft yellow glow. Not the over-the-top Christmas blaze, but definitely someone was inside. My heart leapt into my throat. I sped up. Yes, they're waiting for me here. They've probably set up a cozy throwback dinner just like the old days, but the closer I got, the wrong it felt. No decorations in the yard, no wreath on the door, no tree, no jingle bells, not a single string of Christmas lights. Just that one weak ceiling bulb shining through the living room window, as if someone had flipped it on in a hurry and then rushed to do something urgent. I parked and stood frozen in front of the door. My hand trembled as I reached for the old brass knocker, the same one that always creaked when Dad came home late. 1,000 questions hammered inside my skull. What are they doing in there? Why didn't they tell me? Or is something very wrong? I swallowed hard, heart pounding so loud I was sure it could be heard on the other side of the door. I pushed the door open and for one heartbeat the world stopped turning. The familiar creak rang out exactly as I remembered, but this time it wasn't followed by the slap of Dad's slippers or Mom's scolding, "Late again, Edwin." Instead, a silence so thick settled in that I could hear my own heart hammering against my ribs. The single ceiling bulb cast a sickly yellow glow over the old living room. Nothing had moved in 15 years. The brown sofa frayed at one corner, the oak coffee table still bearing the crescent-shaped scratch I carved in 5th grade. The wall pendulum clock ticking steadily as if it had never paused. But the 3 people standing in the middle of the room, they didn't belong in this picture at all. My father stood frozen on the threadbare rug. His face was the color of ash, lips pressed so tight they'd gone white, knuckles bleached from clenching his fists. He wore a dark green dress shirt, no tie, top 2 buttons undone, like he'd thrown it on in a hurry to get here. My mother stood beside the coffee table. She held a delicate porcelain teacup, the kind Grandma used to favor, and it nearly slipped from her fingers when she saw me. She staggered half a step back, eyes wide, mouth open but speechless. The forced smile twisting on her lips looked more frightening than tears. And seated at the dining table, was a small figure, silver hair cropped short, shoulders slightly hunched yet achingly familiar. My heart stopped. It was Grandma Helena, the one who'd moved to Canada with Uncle Holden, Dad's younger brother, 10 years ago. The one I never thought I'd see again, here, in this house, in this moment. "Grandma," the words scraped out of my throat, raw with disbelief. She whipped around. Her eyes lit up as if someone had flipped a switch. Arms flung wide, voice trembling with emotion. "Avery!" Oh heavens, my boy. I ran to her. No thought, no breath. I crushed her in a hug like I was reclaiming every lost year of childhood. The scent of lavender water flooded my nose, the scent I thought I'd forgotten forever. She was tiny in my arms but held me so tightly I might vanish. I heard her laugh in her throat, then cry, then laugh again. We stood in the middle of the old living room, tears streaming, 10 years of absence dissolving in one embrace. "You've grown so much. I almost didn't recognize you," she whispered, stroking my hair, voice thick. I shook, laughing through tears. I thought I'd never see you again." Joy blinded me to the fact that my parents were still rooted to the spot. When I finally let go, wiped my eyes, and turned around, the sight sent ice down my spine. Dad swallowed hard, staring at me like I was a live grenade that had just rolled into the room. Mom tried to smile, but it came out stiff and lopsided, her lips trembling on the verge of collapse. They exchanged a frantic glance, silent signals I couldn't decode, as if I'd walked in and ruined a carefully laid plan. "Son, what are you doing here?" Dad spoke first, voice rough, trying for casual and failing miserably. I was still floating from Grandma, thoughts sluggish. "I went to the villa. No one there, all the lights off, couldn't reach you. I figured maybe you came back here for an old school Christmas." Mom cut in, pitch too high, too bright. Yes, exactly. Your father and I wanted to surprise you." Grandma said nothing. She simply gripped my hand hard and pulled me down onto the old sofa beside her. She looked at me with eyes shining with love, then flicked a glance at my parents. Sharp enough to make me shiver, though I didn't know why. "Sit with Grandma, sweetheart," she said softly, patting the cushion. "Let me look at you properly. My goodness, so handsome. You're the spitting image of your father at your age." I laughed shyly, sat, still dazed. Grandma took my hand, rubbing the back of it the way she did when I scraped my knee as a kid. She fired questions. "How's work? Got a girlfriend yet? Eating enough? Getting sick often?" I answered in a rush, grinning ear to ear, happiness drowning the strange tension in the room. My parents sank into the opposite chairs, tension radiating off them. Dad kept checking his watch, the door, then Grandma, eyes full of dread. Mom set her teacup down. Her hand shook so badly tea sloshed over the rim. She tried tossing in a few idle questions, but her voice cracked unnatural. The room split in two. On one side, Grandma and me. Warm, animated, talking nonstop as if 10 years were a blink. I told her about architecture, my current projects, my tiny rental. She nodded, eyes sparkling, never letting go of my hand. On the other, my parents. Silent, rigid, eyes darting. Dad sat ramrod straight like he was in a board meeting. Mom kept smoothing her hair, her skirt, anything to hide the restlessness. The old house, once the happiest place I knew, now felt like it cradled a ticking bomb. I sensed it dimly, but the joy of Grandma's return was too big. It smothered every doubt. Only once, for a fleeting second, Grandma turned to my parents. The tenderness vanished. Her gaze turned cold, razor thin, and I realized she knew something. She was waiting for the exact moment to let it out. That Christmas dinner, the atmosphere at the table split cleanly in two, as if an invisible line had been drawn straight down the middle. On my side, Grandma and I talked and laughed without pause. She recounted the time I was 5, climbed a tree for fruit, fell flat on my back, and wailed until she picked me up. I told her about the summer after 7th grade when Mom and Dad took me to visit her at the old farmhouse before she moved to Canada. She taught me to fish in the nearby lake, and I caught the biggest catfish of the season. She bragged about it to the whole neighborhood. She threw her head back and cackled, slapping her thigh. "That's right. I still have the photo of that fish hanging on the wall in Toronto. You were so tiny, face sunburned red, hugging the rod like the fish might swim off with it." I laughed until my sides hurt, reminding her how she used to hide candy in her cardigan pockets, and every time I found it, she'd pretend to be shocked. We went on like that, unearthing memory after memory. The endless summers, the holidays when she mailed gifts from Canada, the handwritten Christmas cards she sent faithfully every year until I grew up. I felt a strange warmth, as if the 10 lost years had never happened. Grandma never took her eyes off me. They glistened, and her hand stayed clasped around mine under the table. Across from us, Dad barely ate. He poked at his meat with a fork, eyes fixed on his plate, occasionally stealing glances at Grandma before dropping his gaze again. Mom forced down each bite, but every time Grandma laughed loudly, she flinched, hands trembling. Once in a while, Mom tried to chime in. "Yeah, those were fun times." But the words rang so hollow I felt uneasy without knowing why. Then the moment came. Grandma had just placed another slice of roast beef on my plate and asked, casual as commenting on the weather, "By the way, Avery, how's the villa? I sent the money 4 years ago for your parents to buy it for you. Are you comfortable there? Does your room have the big window overlooking the garden like you always wanted? I told them to pick a quiet neighborhood so you could focus on work. Do you like it?" I was mid-chew. The question hit like a slap. I froze, nearly choking. "The villa? Mine?" I blinked, mouth open, mind blank. "The villa is mine?" My voice came out hoarse. Dad's fork clattered against the plate. His face drained of color. Mom jumped in, voice pitched unnaturally high, smile brittle. "Yes, Mom. Avery loves it there. The villa's spacious and comfortable. He's really happy. Don't worry." Dad nodded frantically like a bobblehead. Exactly. The kid's doing great, Mom. Rest easy." Grandma ignored them. She brushed away Mom's hand as it reached for her arm, then turned fully to me, expression stern yet still gentle. "No. I want to hear it from you. Avery, the villa I told your parents to buy for you, do you like living there?" I swallowed hard. My pulse raced. I don't understand, Grandma. I'm still in my old rented apartment downtown. I've never had a villa." Silence. The room seemed to plummet 20 degrees. The air thickened, heavy enough to choke on. Dad opened his mouth, but no sound came. Mom covered hers, eyes wide with panic. Grandma stared at me for several seconds, then slowly turned to my parents. The knife edge in her gaze had become a broadsword. "Edwin, Marilyn." Her voice dropped, icy. "The money I sent 4 years ago, 100% for Avery's house, where did it go?" Dad stammered, "Mom, you've got it wrong." "Don't give me excuses," she cut in, sharp as glass. "Answer me. Where is the money?" Mom began to cry, hands over her face, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Dad hung his head, fists clenched so tight his knuckles went white. 10 seconds of silence stretched like a decade. Then Dad exhaled, a ragged sound. We're sorry, Mom. We did buy a villa with it. We thought we'd give it to Avery later, but for now, you live in it, correct?" Grandma finished for him, voice low but every syllable a stab. "You hid it from my grandson for 4 years, left him in a miserable rental, working himself to the bone while that villa became your stage for showing off." I sat there, head spinning. The villa I only entered on holidays, the villa they bragged about to everyone, the villa I used to think, someday I'll earn one just like it, had been mine for 4 years. I looked at my parents. They couldn't look back. Mom sobbed into her hands. Dad's shoulders shook. Everything inside me shattered. For 4 years, I'd pulled all-nighters on projects in a cramped apartment with peeling walls and leaky pipes, pouring every paycheck into rent and bare survival. For 4 years, I'd believed they bought the villa with their own business success, and I was proud of them for it. For 4 years, I'd swallowed loneliness every holiday, feeling like a guest in the house that was supposed to be mine. It had all been a lie. A 4-year lie. I turned to Grandma. She was staring at my parents, eyes blazing with pain and fury. Then she faced me, placed her hand over mine, voice softening but firm. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I didn't know. I thought you'd been living there all this time. I sent the money. Your parents told me everything was fine. The house was bought for you. I believed them. I was wrong." My heart felt crushed in someone's fist. I looked at my parents, the people I'd thought were just a little distant, a little busy. And for the first time in my life, I saw strangers. They looked stripped bare in front of Grandma and me. Then Grandma set her knife and fork down on the table. The soft clink rang out like a judge's gavel. She stared straight at my father, voice low but so cold it raised goosebumps on my arms, even though the look wasn't meant for me. "Edwin, Marilyn, listen carefully." She spoke slowly, every word deliberate. "Starting tomorrow, you will begin the process of transferring full ownership of the villa to Avery Lockridge. All of it. Not 1 centimeter of land, not 1 brick missing. Within 1 week. The paperwork must be clean, legal, and final. No more tricks. If after 7 days the title is not in my grandson's hands, I will hire the best lawyer in Arizona and sue you both for fraud, misappropriation of funds, and breach of designated use. I have every bank transfer, every text message, every promise you made me over the last 4 years. So do exactly as I say, or don't blame me for what comes next." Dad opened his mouth. No sound came. His face was chalk white, lips trembling. Mom burst into open sobs, hands pressed to her face, shoulders shaking in waves. No one argued. There was nothing left to argue with. Grandma stood, pulling me up by the hand. "Let's go, Avery. I won't stay another second in this house of lies." I rose like a robot, legs unsteady. She held my hand firmly and led me to the door. I looked back once. My parents still sat at the cold Christmas table like 2 candles snuffed out by wind. No one spoke. Not a single apology. Only Mom's crying and Dad's heavy, defeated sigh. The old wooden door creaked one last time and shut behind us. The desert night wind bit sharp and cold, but Grandma's hand was warm. She stepped down the porch stairs, back straight, chin high. I opened the car door for her. She settled into the passenger seat, buckled up, then turned with a tired but resolute smile. "Drive me to dinner, sweetheart. Somewhere really good, really fancy. It's Christmas. We deserve joy." I drove in a daze, mind buzzing. She told me to head downtown to Le Chateau, a 3 Michelin-star restaurant I'd never dared enter. I pulled up front. The valet rushed out. Grandma stepped onto the curb, silver hair catching the wind, wearing her old cardigan but walking like royalty. The staff bowed, led us to a corner table with a panoramic view of the city glittering in Christmas lights. The menu was endless, the prices dizzying, but Grandma ordered without hesitation. Foie gras, Wagyu beef, a 50-year-old red wine, crème brûlée with hot caramel sauce. When the sommelier poured the wine, Grandma raised her glass and gently touched mine. "To the years stolen from you, and to the days ahead that will finally be yours." I nearly cried right there in the 5-star dining room, but she smiled, dabbed my eyes with the linen napkin, then launched into funny stories from Canada until I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. We ate, drank, laughed, took photos. She posted one online with the caption, "First Christmas in 10 years with the most beloved grandson in the world." It was the first Christmas dinner where I truly felt loved. Afterward, I assumed she'd want a luxury hotel. She shook her head. "No. Take me to where you live. I want to see how you've been surviving all these years." I cringed but drove to my old apartment complex in central Phoenix. 7 stories, peeling paint, elevator always broken, hallways reeking of mildew. I unlocked 3B, less than 400 square feet, living room doubling as bedroom, a tiny kitchen nook, a cramped bathroom. Fold-out bed against the wall, drafting table buried in blueprints, rickety wardrobe, and a 12-inch plastic Christmas tree from Dollar Tree with a handful of cheap ornaments. Grandma stepped in, looked around slowly, then sat on the single threadbare sofa. She was silent for a long time. I stood there, wishing the floor would swallow me. Then she opened her arms. "Come sit with Grandma." I did. She hugged me tight, no laughter this time. Tears rolled silently down her wrinkled cheeks. I started crying too. And talking. I told her about nights hunched over drawings until 5 a.m., eyes burning from the screen. About months when rent left nothing for food. About Christmases with instant noodles and Netflix. About driving to the villa, standing outside the gate watching my parents entertain friends while I was just the sun dropping by. About the loneliness so deep I believed I didn't deserve a real home. She listened without interrupting, stroking my hair like when I was small. Then she spoke. She told me about her 10 years in Toronto living with Uncle Holden and cousins I'd never met. About her remote financial consulting job, high pay, stable life. About how she rarely visited the US because every trip reminded her too much of Grandpa and broke her heart. About how every time she sent money, my parents texted, "Avery's in the villa now, Mom, he loves it, thank you." She believed them. She truly believed her grandson was thriving. "I was so foolish," she whispered. "I should have flown back to check long ago." I shook my head, holding her tighter. "It wasn't your fault." She wiped her tears, looked at me seriously. "Avery, come to Canada with me. I have a big house, a room ready for you since forever. No rent, no all-nighters for deadlines. Come with me?" I froze. Leaving Phoenix, my job, everything, it was too much. I'll think about it, Grandma. Give me time." She nodded slowly, no pressure. "As long as you need, I can wait." We sat up late, talking about everything and nothing beside the tiny blinking plastic tree. Outside, Christmas fireworks boomed across the sky. But inside that small room, I finally felt I had a real family. One that stood by me, no conditions. That Christmas night, I slept better than I had in 4 years. Because Grandma lay beside me, still holding my hand like she was afraid I'd disappear. And I knew from now on everything would be different. The next morning, I woke to the scent of Grandma's coffee. Vietnamese beans she'd brought from Canada, so rich and bold the tiny rental filled with their aroma. Grandma stayed in Phoenix exactly 1 week, a week in which she became the strictest overseer on earth. She hired her own lawyer, an old man with snow-white hair but eyes sharp as razors, a friend from her business days in the States. Every day she made my parents bring documents to my apartment for inspection. Dad's face stayed ashen. Mom cried nonstop. No one dared object. Grandma sat there reading every line of every contract, every stamp, voice ice cold. "This is money I saved my whole life for my grandson, not for you to show off to the neighbors." I just watched, saying little. My heart was a tangled mess, anger, pain, and emptiness. My parents never apologized to me directly. Only once after signing the temporary transfer papers did Dad look at me, eyes red. I was wrong, son." Then he bowed his head and said no more. Mom sobbed, tried to hug me. I stepped back. I wasn't ready to forgive. Maybe I never would be. On the last day, Grandma flew back to Toronto. I drove her to Sky Harbor. She wore a thick wool coat, carried a small, neat suitcase, but held my hand tight all the way to security. She looked at me, eyes glistening. "Avery, listen to Grandma. From now on, you own that villa. Live honestly, do work you love, and don't let anyone, not even your parents, drag you down again. They chose their path. You choose yours. I'm in Canada, always waiting for your call. Remember that." I hugged her hard, tears soaking her shoulder. "I'll miss you so much." She smiled, rubbed my back. "Me too. And keep thinking about coming to Canada. My door is always open." The plane took off. I watched until it was just a speck against the desert sky, then vanished. A week later, the paperwork was complete. The villa was officially in the name of Avery Lockridge. I moved out of the rental on a sunny afternoon. Just a few cardboard boxes, clothes, drawings, laptop, and last year's mini plastic Christmas tree. The landlord was sorry to see me go on time, even refunded a month's deposit. I gave a stiff smile, locked the door for the last time, and drove to the villa, keys in my hand. The white iron gate swung open. I parked in the spacious garage, stepped inside. Everything was unchanged. Mom's luxury furniture, Dad's mini gym, the small pool out back, and a massive glowing Christmas tree. Probably their silent apology. I walked through. The master bedroom, mine 4 years ago, had a king-size bed, windows facing the cactus garden. A wide office with a big wooden desk. A modern kitchen fully equipped. Every corner was stunning, but each stabbed my heart. I stood in the living room looking out over the wealthy neighborhood and cried. Cried for 4 stolen years. For nights hunched over blueprints in a crumbling apartment when I should have been here. For parents who chose luxury for themselves over their son's future. But then I wiped my face, opened the windows to let the desert wind rush in, and told myself, it's mine now. I'll make it home. 2 years flew by in a blink. I lived in the villa but didn't flaunt it. I changed a few things. sold off unnecessary luxuries, turned the gym into a drafting studio, planted more cacti around the pool. My architecture work stabilized. No rent stress meant bigger projects, higher pay, even my own small office. I worked out regularly, ate well, traveled a bit. California, New York, a solo trip to Mexico, and most importantly, Grandma. We video called every week. She showed me her backyard garden in Toronto, her cousin's kids, Uncle Holden's, thick falling snow. I showed her new drawings, the repainted pool, the beef stew I learned to cook from her recipe. She laughed until her eyes shone. My grandson is amazing. Come here and I'll teach you Vietnamese pho. I still hesitated about moving to Canada. Work was good, friends in Phoenix, and I wasn't ready to cut all ties. But every time she asked, my heart leaned a little more toward Toronto. Until one November afternoon, 2 years after that fateful Christmas, I was in the studio revising plans for a new hotel when my phone rang. Unknown number, Canadian area code. I answered, thinking Grandma had changed phones. Avery? A low, trembling male voice. Uncle Holden, Dad's younger brother whom I'd only seen in photos. Uncle Holden? What's wrong? Silence. Then his voice broke. Avery. Helena. She's very sick. Her health is failing fast. The doctors say she doesn't have much time. She keeps calling your name. Can you fly here? My heart skipped. I don't remember how I replied. I just remember jumping up, hands shaking so badly I dropped my coffee mug. It shattered. I asked for leave immediately. My boss, kind as ever, gave indefinite unpaid time. I booked the earliest flight, price be damned. I threw clothes into a suitcase, grabbed passport and wallet, even forgot my laptop. It was the longest flight of my life. I sat by the window, watching clouds drift, tears falling without stop. Images flooded back. Grandma smiling in the restaurant, hugging me in the dingy apartment, holding my hand at the airport. The plane landed at Toronto Pearson past midnight. Bone-chilling cold, light snow falling. I took a cab straight to the Central Hospital. Uncle Holden had texted the address. The whole ride I prayed, begging her to hold on. I ran through the hospital corridors, antiseptic smell thick. Uncle Holden stood outside the ICU, gaunt, eyes red. He hugged me hard. You made it? She's been waiting. I pushed the door open, and the world collapsed. Grandma lay there on the white bed, tubes everywhere, oxygen in her nose, machines beeping steadily. Her face was sunken, cheeks hollow, silver hair thin, skin paper pale. Gone was the fierce, sharp woman from that Christmas night. Only a tiny, fragile old lady remained. Like a candle about to go out, I fell to my knees beside the bed, took her hand. Ice cold, so thin I feared I'd break it. Grandma, it's me. Her eyes fluttered open. The blue still shone, though faint. She looked at me, lips moving, tears rolling. Avery, my boy, you came. I sobbed, head on her hand. She was the only person who ever believed in me unconditionally, protected me with her life. And now she lay here, barely breathing. I didn't know how much longer she had, but from that moment I knew I would not leave her side again. I stayed in Toronto for 3 straight weeks. Work, the villa, Phoenix, everything was shoved to the back of my mind. I only left the hospital to shower at Uncle Holden's place 10 minutes away, then rushed right back. The hard vinyl chair beside her bed became my mattress. I learned to read the ventilator numbers, change 4 bags with the nurses, wipe her down with warm cloths without causing pain. Every time her eyes cracked open, even a sliver, I grinned huge. It's me, Grandma. I'm not going anywhere. Her strength faded day by day. Her voice shrank to whispers, but her eyes stayed bright, bright enough that I dreaded the day they'd go dark. She couldn't eat anymore, only sipped water through a straw I held. Some days she was lucid for a full hour, gripping my hand tight, voice hoarse but every word clear. Avery, listen to Grandma. I leaned close, swallowing tears. Live right, you hear? Don't change who you are for anyone. Be the best architect, Design houses where people walk in and feel warm. Don't let the past hold you back. What your parents did, that's their mistake, not yours. You deserve a beautiful, happy life, and you have to value yourself first. I nodded frantically, tears soaking the sheet. I know you still love your parents. Blood is blood. But sweetheart, if a relationship, even with parents, only brings hurt, you have to be strong enough to cut it off. Not out of hate, but to protect yourself. I don't want to see you hurt again. I clutched her hand, whispering, I know, Grandma. I promise. She gave a faint smile, then looked toward the door as if seeing Uncle Holden in the hallway. Holden will handle all the paperwork. For you, there's a letter. When I'm gone, he'll give it to you. Read it alone, okay? I nodded, afraid to ask what it said. I just knew she'd prepared it long ago. In her final days, she slept more. I sat holding her hand, retelling every memory. The Christmas night she appeared like magic, our 5-star dinner, the first time I turned on the villa pool and nearly cried from joy. She listened, sometimes smiling in her sleep. Then one December afternoon, snow falling thick outside the window. She woke fully for a while. She looked at me a long time, eyes shining. She squeezed my hand as hard as she could, barely a twitch. Avery, I love you so much. Before I could answer, her hand went slack. The monitor let out a long beep. Nurses rushed in. Doctors rushed in. I was pushed into the hallway. I collapsed to the floor, sobbing like a child. Uncle Holden ran over, hugged me, crying himself, but whispered, She went peacefully, Avery. She waited for you. I don't remember going back in. I just remember lying face down on the bed, clinging to her, throat raw from crying. She lay there, serene, a faint smile still on her lips, as if she were only sleeping deeply. She left gently, without pain, just as she once told me. When my time comes, I want to go fast, not burden anyone. 2 hours later, my parents arrived. Emergency flight from Phoenix, exhausted, eyes red. Dad burst into the room, saw her still form, then spun around and unleashed fury at Uncle Holden in the hallway. Why didn't you call sooner, Holden? Why wait until Mom was gone to tell me? You did this on purpose. Mom wailed, tugging his arm. Edwin, calm down. Uncle Holden stood stone-faced, voice low but firm. This was Mom's wish. She was clear. Only Avery in her final days. Call you only after she passed. She said she didn't want you to see her weak. Dad froze. He opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came. Uncle Holden continued, voice quiet yet piercing. Mom was disappointed in you for years, Edwin. Since that Christmas night. She never said it, but she chose to leave this way so she wouldn't have to face you again. The air grew so heavy I could barely breathe. Mom covered her face and sobbed. Dad bowed his head, shoulders trembling. No one spoke. 3 days later, the funeral was exactly as she wanted, simple to the point of starkness. No flood of fresh flowers, no mahogany casket, no long eulogies. Just a small room in a Toronto funeral home, a few dozen relatives and old friends from her business days in the US and Canada. She wore the cream-colored sweater from that Christmas night, lay in a plain white pine casket face, peaceful as if asleep. I stood in a black suit holding white daisies, her favorite. I read her farewell, voice breaking. You were the only person who ever showed me what family really means. You're gone, but you left me a sky full of strength. I promise to live well, worthy of the love you gave me. I laid the flowers down, kissed her forehead one last time. Ice cold. People filed past to say goodbye. My parents came too. Mom sobbed uncontrollably. Dad stood red-eyed but dry. When they moved toward me to speak, I quietly walked out to the hallway. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. She was cremated, her ashes scattered at the lake near the old farmhouse, where she once taught me to fish. Snow drifted lightly, wind bit sharp, but I felt strangely warm. She was home. She left peacefully, leaving a vast emptiness in my heart. but also strength, love, and a letter I knew would change my life again. 1 week after Grandma's simple funeral, Uncle Holden held the will reading at his law office in downtown Toronto. It was a glass high-rise, cold, sleek, modern, making me feel utterly out of place. I wore a black suit, tie knotted so tight it choked me, and stepped into a small conference room with a glossy long wooden table and gray leather chairs. The air was so heavy you could slice it. Snow still fell past the big windows, but no one glanced outside. Uncle Holden sat at the head, a thick folder and a red wax-sealed envelope in front of him. I took the seat to his left. My parents arrived 10 minutes late, faces drawn from crying or sleeplessness. I couldn't tell. Mom in a black fur coat, Dad in a gray suit. They sat across from me, separated by the table like an ocean. They looked at me. I stared at the table. No one spoke. Dad broke the silence first, voice hoarse. "What? Did Mom leave, Holden?" Uncle Holden didn't answer right away. He adjusted his glasses, took a deep breath, then opened the folder. His voice was low, clear, professional. The tone of a lawyer who'd done this hundreds of times, but today it trembled slightly. "Before reading the official will, I must disclose something Mom instructed me to keep absolutely secret until now." All eyes locked on him. My pulse quickened. 3 months before she passed, Mom finalized the sale of the entire financial firm she founded in the 90s. The buyer was a major U.S. investment fund. The deal's value, over $1 billion. The room went dead silent. I heard Mom gasp sharply. Dad's mouth fell open, eyes wide in disbelief. I froze. $1 billion? Grandma, the woman I knew only as a kind, ordinary businesswoman, had built a financial empire no one in the family knew about? Uncle Holden continued, voice steady but laced with pride and pain. Mom kept it hidden to avoid attention, family fights, media scrutiny. Only I knew. I've been her personal attorney for 30 years. The full proceeds from the sale, plus other accumulated assets, were placed in an irrevocable trust. Dad grew impatient, voice rising. "So, how did she divide it?" Uncle Holden stared at him for a long second, then opened the red wax-sealed envelope. Grandma's shaky but clear handwriting on top. "Helena Lockridge." He read slowly, line by line. The will was drafted 2 years earlier, right after that fateful Christmas night. I inherited $500 million. $500 million. Cash from part of the sale, the entire Helena Avery Fund investment portfolio, stocks, bonds, offshore accounts, and several small U.S. properties I'd never heard of. All transferred to me at age 30, or immediately upon her death. Uncle Holden received the rest: the Toronto house, the old farmhouse, a few subsidiary companies, and the charity foundation she'd established long ago. My parents, not a cent. Their names didn't appear in a single line related to assets. I sat there, ears ringing, mind blank. 500 million. The number was so unreal it felt like a fever dream. I couldn't breathe. Mom burst into loud sobs, hand over mouth, eyes pleading with Uncle Holden. "It can't be. There must be a mistake. Mom wouldn't..." But Dad reacted differently. He shot to his feet, chair crashing backward, face purple, eyes blazing. He lunged across the table, snatched the will from Uncle Holden's hand, ripping a corner in the process. "Give me that. Let me see," he roared, voice raw with rage. He scanned it again and again, lips moving as he muttered, "No, impossible. This is fake. You forged it, didn't you, Holden? You forced Mom to sign." Uncle Holden stood, voice calm but ice cold. "Edwin, sit down. This is the real will, notarized with video of Mom reading it while fully lucid." Dad didn't listen. He flung the pages onto the table, papers scattering, then suddenly grabbed Uncle Holden's collar, yanking hard enough to stagger him. You poisoned her mind. You wanted it all, didn't you? I'm the eldest son. I have rights. Mom was insane to do this." Mom trembled, rushing to pull Dad's arm. "Edwin, stop. Don't make it worse." I sat frozen, heart pounding. This was my father, the man who once taught me to stay calm when angry, now like a wild animal. But I understood his rage. A fortune over $1 billion, and he, Grandma's firstborn, got nothing. Uncle Holden didn't fight back hard, just gripped Dad's wrists, voice low and firm. "Let go, Edwin." This was Mom's decision. She thought it through since that Christmas 2 years ago. "You know why." Dad released him but snarled, eyes bloodshot. "Why, because of this ungrateful brat?" He jabbed a finger at me, voice dripping venom. "He gets everything and I, her own flesh and blood, get nothing?" She was bewitched. I said nothing. My chest ached, but I wasn't surprised anymore. I'd known who they were for a long time. Uncle Holden slid a small USB across the table toward Dad. "Here's the video Mom recorded explaining her reasons. You can watch it if you want, but I advise against it here." Dad stared at the drive like it was poison, then swatted it to the floor. He spun around, yanked Mom up by the arm, voice seething. "Let's go, Marilyn. We're done here. Take it all, you thieves." Mom sobbed, trying to look back at me once, but Dad dragged her out. The conference room door slammed shut, echoing like a final explosion. Silence returned, just me and Uncle Holden. He sat down, exhaled heavily, then slid another envelope toward me. Smaller, white, carefully sealed, Grandma's handwriting. "For Avery only. Open alone." "This is the letter Mom wrote just for you," he said softly. "She told me to give it after the will was read." I took it, hands shaking. It was heavy. So heavy. I wasn't happy about the money. $500 million stunned me, but it didn't warm my heart. What choked me with emotion was knowing she trusted me completely, enough to hand a grandson she'd seen once in 10 years an empire. This wasn't a reward. It was a duty, the duty to live worthy of her faith. And I knew from now on I would. I had to. For her. I stayed in Toronto for 2 more weeks to finalize every legal detail, signing stack after stack of documents Uncle Holden handed me, meeting the trust managers, listening as they explained how the money would flow into my accounts quarterly. I went through it all like a robot, my mind still drifting somewhere over the icy lake where we scattered Grandma's ashes. Only one thing I kept clutched in my carry-on, the white sealed envelope, her handwriting. For Avery only. Open alone. I opened it the first night back in Phoenix. The villa was vast, silent enough to hear the refrigerator hum. I sat in the living room, turned on just one floor lamp, and took the same sofa Grandma had sat on that Christmas night. Hands trembling, I tore the envelope. Inside, a 3-page handwritten letter, her script still firm though written 8 months earlier, and a thick hardbound dossier tied with red paracord. I read the letter first. My dearest grandson, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you know the full truth about the estate. I won't apologize for leaving you this burden because I know you're strong enough to carry it. But I must warn you, your parents will not let it rest. They will come. They'll sweet talk, beg, cry, and when that fails, they'll turn vicious. I know them better than you think. In this dossier is everything I gathered over more than 20 years. Embezzlement from Grandpa's old company, tax evasion from 2008 to 2012, misuse of money I sent multiple times before, and the villa purchase that was meant for you. Bank transfers, statements, even secret recordings of them admitting it, enough to put them both in prison if I'd wanted. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted to protect you. If they pressure you, show them this dossier. Just the cover will silence them. Don't soften, don't pity. You owe them nothing. They stole 4 years of your life, your trust, the childhood I tried to repay. Now it's time to protect yourself. I'm not beside you anymore, but I'm here, in every right choice you make. Love you beyond measure. Your Grandma Helena. I folded the letter, hands ice cold, then opened the dossier. Hundreds of pages meticulously ordered by date. Transfer receipts with Dad's signature, Mom's emails to a Swiss bank, even a small USB in the back cover. Dad's voice crystal clear. Mom's old, just tell Avery he's in the villa and he'll believe it. No need to transfer title early. I sat until dawn reading to the last page. No more tears, just cold, and for the first time in my life, truly free. Grandma's prediction was letter perfect. 3 days later, the villa doorbell rang. Security camera. My parents at the gate dressed sharply. Mom holding a box of pastries and a bottle of the same red wine I'd once gifted them on Christmas. I opened the gate remotely, didn't greet them. They walked in. Mom's smile strained. "Son, we came to visit." They sat on the sofa. Dad spoke first, voice syrupy. "Avery, you're grown now, family. With this blessing we share, right? We raised you, now you have everything. Help us restart the business. Call it filial piety." Mom chimed in, eyes fake glistening. "Exactly, dear. We're old. Just a few tens of millions, nothing compared to your 500 million inheritance. Family sticks together, doesn't it?" I looked at them, inhaled deeply, and said, calm, level, "No, I'm not sharing anything. This was Grandma's wish, and I honor it." The air froze. Their smiles vanished. Mom blinked rapidly, stunned. Dad's face flushed, voice shaking. Then the mask dropped. Dad leapt up, finger jabbing at my face, roaring, "What did you say? Ungrateful, filial ingrate. Your mother and I slaved to raise you. Now you have money and turn your back. Heartless. Traitor." Mom joined, shrill crocodile tears streaming. "You forget who gave you life? Who fed and educated you? Now Grandma's money comes and you kick us out. Give it back. It's ours by right." They shouted, pointed, faces crimson, spit flying. Dad slammed the table. "Without us, you'd be nothing. Ungrateful brat. God will punish you." I watched silent, then stood, walked to the office, and returned with the red-corded dossier. I dropped it on the coffee table with a thud. Their mouths snapped shut. "What is this?" Dad growled. "Grandma's gift to you both," I replied, eerily calm. "Open it." Mom's hands shook as she untied the cord. First page, bank statement, Dad's signature, illegal transfer, 2010. Second, Mom's email on tax evasion. The deeper they went, the whiter their faces. At the recording page, Dad let go. The dossier hit the floor, papers scattering. How do you have this?" His voice cracked, all fight gone. "Grandma left it. She knew everything. For a long time." I spoke slowly. "She didn't use it for revenge. She used it to protect me. If you ever come back, ever demand one more cent, I send the whole file to the IRS, economic police, and every paper in Arizona. Want that?" Silence. Mom buried her face, sobbing. This time real. Dad slumped, shoulders caving, blood drained from his face. He looked at me, fearful, and for the first time in my life, ashamed. They said nothing more. No apology, no plea. Just stood, walked out. Mom glanced back, lips moving. "Son." But I stared, cold. She lowered her head and followed Dad. Their car crunched away on the gravel. I stood in the vast foyer, hearing the tick of the clock Grandma once bought Grandpa in Italy. The door closed, not with a slam, but a soft click, and with it ended the toxic tie that had bound me for 29 years. I no longer had parents, but I had Grandma, and I had myself, finally completely free. I stood in the villa foyer for a long while, listening to their car fade down the gravel drive. No anger, no instant relief, just a strange emptiness. Then I went to the kitchen, brewed a cup of Vietnamese coffee, the last batch Grandma brought from Canada, and sat at the dining table where she'd sat that Christmas night. I closed my eyes, inhaled the rich aroma deeply, and whispered, "I did it, Grandma." From then on, true peace began. I lived alone in the vast villa, but it no longer felt cold. I changed it bit by bit. Warmer paint on the walls, more green plants indoors, a few paintings I'd drawn myself, and most importantly, Grandma's photos everywhere. Her smiling in the Toronto garden, the two of us hugging that Christmas night. Her in the cream sweater by the snow-covered lake. Every morning I woke, saw her smile, and started the day. My architecture work exploded. No longer worrying about rent, food, or emergency savings, I dared to take on projects I'd only dreamed of before. I opened my own studio, Helena Designs, specializing in sustainable, eco-friendly homes for people who'd lost their own, like I once had. I spoke at universities, teaching students to design healing spaces. I joined volunteer builds in Mexico, Vietnam, places where a child is overjoyed just to have a roof. The inheritance gave me freedom, not to buy supercars or yachts. I still drove my old Ford Escape because it had been with me through the hard times, but freedom to choose what I wanted to do. I flew to Toronto quarterly, stayed at Uncle Holden's, visited Grandma's grave, scattered white daisies on the lake. I learned meditation, yoga, how to cook her favorite dishes. I jogged every morning along the cactus-lined road, worked out not to show off but to stay healthy, to live long, to make her proud. I took time to heal. Some nights I sat on the rooftop watching desert stars, rereading her letter, crying alone. Not from pain, but gratitude. I learned to forgive not them but myself for ever thinking I wasn't good enough to be loved. The largest portion of the fortune went into the Helena Lockridge Foundation Scholarship Fund. Every year it covers tuition, housing, laptops, even flights for young people abandoned by family, exploited or forced to fend for themselves too early. I interview each one personally. When an 18-year-old boy told me his parents gambled away his scholarship, I looked at him and said, "I was you. But now I'm here, and I believe you'll make it too." I handed him a photocopy of Grandma's letter. He cried. I cried, and I knew she was smiling from somewhere above. My parents never came back. Occasionally I heard through mutual friends, Dad's gym chain went bankrupt, Mom sold online but barely scraped by. They moved to a small house on the outskirts, living quietly. I didn't hate them. Hate only hurts the hater. I simply kept my distance, the distance needed to protect my peace. Looking back, I barely recognized myself. From a 27-year-old guy in a rundown apartment, waking every morning dreading rent, falling asleep every night terrified of being abandoned again, to a 32-year-old man, time flies, living in the villa that was once stolen from me, driving the same old car but with a heart light as air, sleeping soundly without pills and knowing one absolute truth. I deserve every good thing I have. The events didn't just take 4 years of my life. They gave me a priceless gift, seeing people clearly and, more importantly, seeing my own true worth. I learned lessons carved into my heart, not paper. Family doesn't always mean safety. Not everyone who gave you life wants the best for you. If someone keeps hurting you, even parents, be strong enough to walk away, not out of cruelty but self-respect. Love can't fix a toxic relationship. Kindness doesn't mean letting others use you. Build your worth through your own effort, because no one can take that away. And finally, Grandma's fortune was a grand gift. But what she was proudest of was my resilience. The grandson who chose to stand rather than fall. If you ever read these words, here's my message. Love your family, but don't be blind. Choose peace over clinging to relationships that only cause pain. And above all, never think you don't deserve good things. Sometimes all it takes is one person who believes in you. Just one, like Grandma Helena believed in me, to change your entire life. I still live in Phoenix, still drive the old Ford, still drink Vietnamese coffee every morning, and Grandma's photos are still everywhere. Every Christmas Eve, I light up the entire front yard, place a bouquet of white daisies by the window and whisper, "I'm okay, Grandma. I'm living well, just like you wanted." And I know somewhere, Grandma is smiling,